This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on AGam in Kansas. In a recent field day, a chance to catch up with AJ Tarpoff. And AJ, a beef extension veterinarian with Kansas State University, and you had the opportunity to talk to producers about anaplasmosis. It's become a bigger issue in the state of Kansas. Obviously, it's been around for a number of years, but we start seeing more incidents in the past couple of years. Tell us a little bit about that particular disease and why growers need to pay attention.
Well, anaplasmosis, to start with, it's a rickettsial bacterial organism, and it affects the red blood cells of cattle. And what has been happening over the last several years is it's starting to poke its ugly head up in certain areas, especially within Kansas, that we've never seen it before. As of late, just about every single county within the state of Kansas has had at least one reported case of anaplasmosis.
We think about why that's important. Obviously, the detrimental effects of the disease on a cow herd can be significant in some situations.
It absolutely can. If we have a naive herd and anaplasmosis comes through, what's different with this is a lot of the times the first clinical sign that we get within a naive herd is dead, mature animals out in the pasture. And that can be extremely devastating, especially considering the price and how much these animals truly mean for the operation. And it often happens very suddenly. So very costly, but it also hurts production. It can cause abortions. It can do a number of different things as apart from the overall mortality loss. But anaplasmosis is an extremely costly disease.
Talk a little bit about what we're trying to do to combat that particular issue and what producers should have front of mind.
Number one thing to do when dealing with anaplasmosis is have a very strong relationship with your local practitioner, your local veterinarian. Have a valid veterinary client-patient relationship. That allows you to use many more products to be at your disposal whenever you work with your local practitioner. On top of that is we have different products that we can use through the feed, different types of treatment mechanisms, but mainstay is prevention. Okay, anaplasmosis is a bloodborne bacteria. We have different vectors, such as ticks and flies. So a part of our anaplas control method, we need to be able to control these external parasites. Apart from that, we have mechanical means that we can transmit this disease. And by mechanical, things that people can do. Anything that gets blood exposure, injection needles, dehorners, tattoo pliers, any of these any of these tools that we use within a herd can transmit this disease from one animal to another.
We think about the unfortunate situation that stressors typically bring on and make it more apparent, I understand as well.
Stressors can, especially when the animal gets into clinical stages of disease. They have the inability to move oxygen within their system. They can get extremely violent, and just the act of moving the animal can send it over the edge. So understand, be safe when you're handling these animals. Early treatment is always the best. Whenever they're just going off a feed, they're showing a little bit of either very white mucous membranes or very yellow. And even signs of constipation, maybe 1 or 2 abortions if you have pregnant cows at that time. These are more the earlier stages that treatment is often very successful at that period of time.
Albeit an unfortunate situation, being honest and open with your veterinary practitioner, probably the best means to get your hands around this in a timely fashion.
Very true. The number one thing I always recommend to producers, talk with your local practitioner, work with them directly, set up different types of different strategies to be able to decrease the risk on your own operation, and both exposure and spread throughout your herd. So kind of our basic biosecurity and biocontainment within our herds to make sure that naive animals are not getting exposed.
All right, thanks to AJ Tarpoff joining us here with an update on anaplasmosis.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulders sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.